Otena Molo, who is a member of parliament from Marietta. Also, we do have with us Dr. Khalwale, Boni Khalwale, who is a former senator of Kakamega and also the deputy leader of Ford Kenya. We do have with us as well Senator Mudhama, Johnson Mudhama, who is a former senator of Machakos. Welcome to the program. And also we do have with us as well Kimani Omatangi, who is a senator of Kiambu. We're eagerly waiting for Dr. Eseli to join us also in the program this morning. Jacob Midio is taken ill this morning. We'll be speaking to him to just tell us how he's faring on. He's on the mend. He's admitted at the Nairobi hospital. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Fantastic. We just want to discuss issues here, what is really happening as far as the politics is concerned. But this story by Moses Kuria, and I think also some of the dailies are holding that particular story on the front page, the Star has it. Do you think we really need another committee to oversee maybe Matiang'i, as he puts it? Let's just begin with you, Dr. Otiende.
Well,
is it really called for?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And first, I did not know my friend Jacob was admitted. I wish him quick recovery.
Yes.
But secondly, I think I also want to condole with the family of Mildred Odira, who I think was working in this very building,
yes, and
who died mysteriously. I think because it's under investigation, there's not much to say for now,
yes,
but I do hope that the culprits are really brought to book. Having said that, I have seen the story about the proposal by my colleague and friend Moses Kuria. And from where I stand, I think it is a non-starter.
It's a non-starter?
Yes. This is one of those rare occasions where I would probably agree with Aden Duale. First of all, there's a tendency for people to talk about what they intend to do, and then it's made to sound as if it is something that is already done. As my colleagues here will tell you, and most of them are senior to me in politics,
yes,
that anything you propose to Parliament can only gain the need to be discussed after it has been admitted, after it has been presented or tabled. A lot of stuff, and this is not the only stuff, a lot of stuff, even including my colleagues, talk about things they intend to do, but which never come to pass because perhaps they are not admissible in Parliament, or even if they are admissible, perhaps they are not presented.
Yes.
So I think this is one of those. So first, for me it will be relevant if indeed the proposal is made and then it is determined whether it's admissible. Because you don't just create committees like that. Secondly, a distinction must always be made. When the president makes an executive order, it's just that. It is for the executive. It is an executive order. You do not translate an executive order to suddenly be some sort of instruction to the legislative arm, yes, or to the judicial arm, because that then interferes with the very foundation of our constitution, which allows each of those arms to stand alone. Just in the same way, any rearrangement we do within the judiciary,
yes,
within Parliament as the legislature, yes, does not necessarily then mean that it must affect the executive in execution of the executive duties. But thirdly, and more importantly, I think that it is always a good rule that if you propose something and you think it's a good thing, you don't propose it and propose yourself as its leader, because that then immediately takes away whatever good intentions that one might have had. So whatever the reasoning, I mean, it's unacceptable and unethical for my friend Moses Kuria to propose a structure which then he proposes himself to lead. I really think that what Moses is doing, which any politician would do, is to find a way of reducing the ill effects of some of his utterances in the past. And you know that he has said a few things which definitely have not sat well with the presidency. So I think he's trying to know his way back.
Right. So you think, though, this is just purely a publicity stunt that is trying to, gain mileage on?
I believe so.
You believe so? Okay. Let's hear from Dr. Boni Khalwale.
I don't have much to say about that point because the issue of Matiang'i has been given so many interpretations, and especially by the people who would like to create a narrative that Matiang'i is, or rather the executive order was meant to take powers away from the deputy president and give them to Matiang'i. That is a narrative that people have been hyping. I find it very difficult to understand whether the problem is the reading of the Constitution or the inability to understand the Constitution, because the Constitution is very clear in 134 and in 147 that the functions of the deputy president are assigned by the Constitution. And the only way you can take them away, even if you want to give them to Matiang'i, you would first of all have to amend the Constitution of Kenya for you to have an opportunity to do that. For me, what I saw was merely an attempt by the president to ensure that programs of government, their implementation and the projects is properly done. I understand that from the previous past, this was a function that was being done by the office of Kinyua. So if anything, the papers should have been saying that Kinyua's powers have been given to Matiang'i.
Yes.
And therefore, the MP for Katondo South, to then want that what he's suggesting takes place is trying to build a mountain out of an anthill. Thank you.
Right. Kimani Motangi.
Thank you, Debarl. Let me start by saying good morning to our viewers, and like my colleague also said, first let me send my condolences to this family who lost their mother and a lady who also has been sensationally murdered, so to say. Debarl, I realized yesterday in an organizational meeting with my team that the lady is actually a wife to one of my workers. And so let me send my condolences to the family. I know how they've been affected. This news came as we were holding a meeting with a gentleman who's the husband to this lady, and so it's quite traumatic. Secondly, let me also wish our colleague Jacoyo Midiwo a quick recovery in his short illness. I believe it will be as short as you said it, and he'll be well. And then on this issue, Debarl, my take is that you see, what the president, the effect of what the president did by giving that directive is really, you can summarize it by calling it internal reorganization. There's really nothing so out of the ordinary that the president did. I mean, he didn't appoint a new cabinet. Neither did he ask cabinet ministers to be working outside their framework that they do. He did not bring in new people who are not hitherto vetted by parliament. I mean, it's the same people, just the way you can reorganize your team for purposes of efficiency. And what this report says is that the member for Katondo South has written a letter to the speaker. I mean, so it's that's it. I mean, he's only written a letter to make these proposals. As Dr. Otiende said, there have been no real steps taken towards this implementation. But I also believe, you see, the overall work of Parliament is oversight itself in every committee for every member. So I believe that there exists a framework with which Parliament can be able to oversight whatever the cabinet is doing in whatever reorganization or format is there. So I don't think that there's really much to put to this story. Just put it to rest at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from Senator Mudama. Don, good morning.
Good morning, and I also want to say a very big good morning to Kenyans and the viewers who are listening to us. And at the same time, I also wish to send my sympathies to my former colleague, Jacoyo Midiwo, who I understand, and I understood just now, that he has been admitted. I wish him a very quick recovery. Touching on the issue that you raised of the statement made by Moses Kuria, we as Kenyans, we truly need to understand what is democracy. And democracy is you being allowed to express your views and your thoughts and your mind. And here, Kuria does not seem to be representing anybody. He is not representing President Kenyatta, and he is not representing government of Kenya.
Yes.
But he is expressing his views, looking at Matiang'i's position. And all what he is saying is that let us have a committee that will monitor the activities and the work that is being done by friend Matiang'i. But one thing as Kenyans we need to understand is that we are like an institution that hires a watchman to watch those who are stealing. And then another watchman is hired to watch that watchman. And then another one is hired to watch that watchman. So we end up having watchmen watching one another, instead of having one that does the job that needs to be done. So we have failed, we as Kenyans, to demonstrate our trust and come out to say that we are there as leaders to serve this country. And that is why you see even President Kenyatta is getting in a situation where he feels that he has to appoint someone who will monitor the activities and the work that is being done by his cabinet ministers, because they cannot work independently and deliver. Every time there's something missing here and there. So these commissions, committees, answering now Moses Kuria in his democratic rights of expression, they are not going to help us. What is going to help Kenyans is total commitments on those who are entrusted to serve Kenyans in the positions that they have been given by the government to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And also I'm receiving information on Honorable Simiu Eseli, who's actually lost his elder sister, Rosabella, and he cannot really make it this morning. So this is just information that is coming to us this morning. And we want to say we wish his family our deepest sympathy and sincere condolences. And of course, this maybe Bone Khalwale Kawain, or you can weigh in on this as well, to just stand in solidarity with your Secretary General of Ford Kenya.
Well, I suppose he has just sent you the text now?
Yes, he just sent me the text because we were expecting him this morning.
Oh, yeah. So that's very unfortunate. Looks like Mheshimiwa has had a series of such problems, because it's only 2 weeks ago that he also lost his own brother-in-law, who was my classmate, Dr. Sakari, and was buried in Lugulu, wife to his sister. I do not. I hope that is not the widow is not the one who is affected, but even if it is somebody else, it's still very unacceptable. We want to say Paul.
Right. We say Paul from AM Live, People and Politics. Dr. Eseli is a regular panelist with us this morning. Right, we want to just buckle down and talk about party politics and a raft of other issues that have been shaping up the politics of the week that has been. But let's just begin, first of all, with the Wiper Party, first of all, because that's why we have here Senator Mudhama to talk to us. Wiper Party has dared its chairman, Kivutha Kibwana, to walk the talk and ditch the party on whose ticket he won the Makueni gubernatorial seats. What does this really portend for Kivutha Kibwana?
First of all, it's a very complicated issue, but first of all, let us start with where Kivutha came from as a politician, as a governor of Makueni. He had his own party which campaigned under code, that is 2013, and by having the coalition within the affiliate parties, he campaigned attaching and associating his politics with NASA, and we could not push him out as Wiper, so he campaigned and won the seat. But 2017, Kivutha realized that he cannot win outside Wiper, and then again he moved to Wiper, and he was given the ticket to campaign, and he won the seat. But the most important thing here is not doing the politics of his position as governor of Makueni, but he has gone a step ahead. And all what he's talking about is becoming a presidential candidate. But he does not want to be the presidential candidate of the Republic of Kenya. He wants to be a presidential candidate of Makueni and Ukambani region where he comes from. Because all what he is saying is that we wish, as the three governors of Ukambani, we wish to remove Kalonzo Musyoka from the leadership of Ukambani. So the answer to that is very clear, is that the mission here is not Kivuda to undertake to be the presidential candidate of Kenya, but his mission is to remove Kalonzo Musyoka from the leadership of Ukambani. And Kalonzo is not a leader of Ukambani. As far as I'm concerned, since him being the party leader of the party which I belong to and the party I support, he is a national leader who represents a party that is in every corner of this country. So what he is trying to create now, to answer your question, is a situation where it will be seen that Kalonzo is not popular from his backyard, and any seriousness that could be considered about him as a presidential candidate should not be taken seriously by Kenyans. And that is the gist of the matter of what is happening in Ukambani and where it starts from.
Let's hear from Dr. Otenda Mola on this. I know the Wiper Party is not your party, but of course you've been seeing the development, and that's why we're here to talk about the party politics.
We have been partners, by the way.
You've been partners. Yeah. This partnering is what we want to talk about. Yeah. there has been partnership that has been ongoing, so we want to reveal them today and know what is really underneath.
I'm actually happy that the focus is on Wiper rather than NASA. So that makes it easier to comment on, because the NASA matters are a bit nebulous as we speak. But on Wiper, and I think we've said this here before, I only see three things. First of all, that the three governors from the Ukambani region are all persons who have either run for president or have presidential ambition. As far as I understand, their ambition is beyond Makueni. Senator Mudama says it is localized. We will see about that. Charity Ngilu ran for president previously. Governor Mutua has always maintained that he's a 2022 presidential candidate. And for all indications, Professor Kibwana, in his recent utterances and body language, I think buoyed by the social media praise, I think believes that he can also be a president. So the first problem, I think, is that these are three individuals, each of whom believes they can be president and they could run as president, but it is inconceivable that they can run as long as Kalonzo Musyoka is still in the picture. That I understand to be the problem. The second issue, in respect of now Professor Kibwana, is the hype of social media. You know, social media is such a powerful tool in this country that it can make or destroy you, but on social media. You know, but sometimes people can mistake that to mean exactly what you see in social media is what everybody else who is not on social media thinks. I think Professor Kibwana is well counseled to sit back and reflect, you know, in terms of the history that Senator Mudama was talking about, having run on his own party, then having joined Wiper, and then Wiper made him the chairman. You might really want to think straight fast in terms of the political formations in this country, in terms of the trends, in terms of election, before you start believing the social media too much. But thirdly, I think the biggest hurdle that the three governors would face is if they were to succeed in dislodging Kalonzo Musyoka as what we would call the kingpin. If they were to succeed, then what? Because it is easy to unite against an individual, and we all united against former President Moi in 2002 and stuff like that. But when then they're out of the picture, the biggest problem is who then will be the first among equals, and that is their biggest headache in any event. But generally, I think that from where Professor Kibwana stands, when you've come into a party and you've been made the chair of that party, and you come to the realization that the leader of that party is unfit to lead, then you must not wait to be removed as the chairman. You must have the courage to resign from that party and stand with your convictions outside of the party. I think that is the right thing to do. Yes. Yes.
Right. Boni Khalwale.
You know, I'm surprised by both my brother, Senator Mudama, and Dr. Atienda Molo.
Yes.
They are discussing Professor Kibwana Kibwana as if Kibwana Kibwana came on the limelight the other day when he became governor. That is not true. In fact, the first time Kibwana Kibwana indicated that he wants to be head of state was in 2001, long before Kalonzo Musyoka indicated that he wants to be president. Why? Kibwana Kibwana was our leader in NCC. And as leader of NCC, he was mooted as a compromise candidate who would then take on what would have been the successor of Moi from Kanu. At that time, all these players, Kalonzo, Raila, Saitoti, Wetangula, Mudavadi, all of them were in Kanu. So Kibwana, to us, who are the true opposition loyalists in the politics of this country, was actually our compromise candidate. But as things turned out, discussions took place. Charity Ngilu matched up with Kijana Wamalwa and Mwai Kibaki, and the rest is history. So Kibwana Kibwana is not a creature, Amolo of the social media. He has always wanted to be president. Second mistake, Amolo. You are saying because all of a sudden Kibwana has developed presidential ambitions, he should resign from Wiper. Who told you? In fact, it is all the more reason why he should stick in there and challenge Kalonzo for the Wiper ticket to then become the Wiper candidate. He disappoints me, of course, together with Ngilu and Mutua, that they are saying they want to dislodge Kalonzo as the tribal or regional kingpin. Yes. That would be wrong. The thing to do, let one of them or all of them contest for either the Wiper ticket or the presidency, and whoever will beat the other one will emerge as then the kingpin of that region and probably the president of Kenya. Senator Mudama, I thought you were on this one with me, but let me just joke your memory a little bit.
Which one?
Look, Raila Odinga, Moses Wetangula, Musalia Mudavadi, and Kalonzo still owe me, and they owe Mudama, and they owe Orengo, and they owe millions of Kenyans an explanation on how they mismanaged NASA. Now, before they tell us how and why they mismanaged NASA, they have started behaving badly. It looks like they meet somewhere in a country club and decide to go and behave badly. On one side, Raila is busy pretending that it's a crime for a member of his party to imagine that sometime in future he can work with, she can support a presidential candidate other than the party leader. He is on Jumwa and Dori in ODM. Kalonzo on his part, there he is. He's on Professor Kibwana Kibwana. Mudavadi on his part, there he is on Osothi and MP Osothi and Senator Malala. And in Fort Kenya, there Wetangula is, I hear some vibes from some corner in Trans Nzoia that you discipline Dr. Boni Khalwale, simply because we are asking the questions. Are our parties ready for the election of 2022? And if they are ready, are they doing so in full cognizance of the fact that you require 50% plus one to form government, or do you just want to present presidential candidates? I'm speaking to the issue of alliances. So I want to appeal to the four former co-principals of NASA to explain to us how Raila ended up in Jubilee, how Kalonzo ended up following him in Jubilee without explaining to Kivutha Kibwana, and how Mudavadi is at night in Jubilee and during the day he is the leader of the opposition. We would like that explanation. We would like an explanation. It's unfortunate that Sally is bereaved. I wish he was here. We would like an explanation from Fort Kenya, how Wetangula talks with Ruto at night, and during the day he's in Bungoma saying that he's going to be to go for the presidency as solo, so to speak. So these things, they have to speak to it if they are going to continue capturing the imaginations of Kenyans. Those four.
Right. Let's hold it on that. Then we hear from Kimani Wamatangi, the Jubilee affairs as well. I think hearing from what NASA is, going through right now with the political parties, it seems there is an implosion. What does it really portend for NASA? Is there any future for NASA?
He must be happy.
I mean, to begin with, I think, Debarl, we already agreed, and I'm sure you can read from, you can take you from what all the other former NASA members, and I said former NASA members, have said on this forum. I mean, they have affirmed by their contribution that NASA is dead. I mean, I think Otiende Amolo has said that severally here. Halole has said the same.
Sally has also.
And Sally has said the same. And
says it's never said
I believe
anything
we are
to
not
do with
going
the
to
death.
get any contradiction from Senator Mudhama himself. So we can limit our discussions to the former NASA and the parties that formed that former NASA, and now the individuals at play. I think our contributions should be limited to that. Otherwise, we might be giving life to to an animal that died long ago, but at least its DNA still exists in these individuals who are here. But Debarl, let me just make a quick comment on the subject itself, the topic itself on Kalonzo, because one, I want to say clearly that every politician, be it an MCA, be it a member of a National Assembly or a senator or a governor, all of them believe that they can be president. And most I will tell you in their dreams, they want to be president. But the reality is different. Number two, the politics at the presidential level platform and at the lower or commonplace platform are two different games altogether. And that is how the difference comes in between all those wannabes at that lower level. Marks or do become or are able to raise that to the level of reality. And I think that is the distinction we have to make between what we are talking about, Kivutha Kibwana, between what can be and what cannot be. You see, at the local level, in Makueni, Kivutha Kibwana is popular because he has gone around, he has done things, and he's seen in markets. They are quite with a lot of humility, and he's gotten things done at that level. And from that, maybe around Ukambani, probably he's gone around. But what you'd be asking yourself, seriously, if we are to address the issue of him being a serious presidential candidate, has he built the political capital to be able to stand on a platform and compete with other political players who are presidential candidates? And I would say this, Debarl. One thing that we all overlook or fail to give credence as we should is the investment that serious presidential candidates have had to put in, especially the political mileage they earn by actually hitting the ground for a long time and building alliances and a career that makes them believable and trustworthy and vettable at that level for that position across the country. And I think that is the distinction, because somebody said, with jest, the other day to Kivutha Kibwana, but you can put it to test, and told him, okay, you think you're popular, go to Mombasa in Tononoka and call a rally. Oh, it was you. Yes, I think it was being said on this forum. And then if you can, then let's see. And I'm not trying to either, snide him, but what I'm saying is that it is a reality that before you really think that you can be one of those top A players, you must believe that you have to go through the C and the B and the A and the A plus. It is a journey. And if you undertake that journey then and you arrive there, then you have the capital, you have the force, you have the wherewithal.
Thank you.
That you can be able to trade for that position.
Thank you.
And I believe that is what Kivutha should be looking at.
Right.
To make a decision whether he really wants to go into that league.
Thank you, Matangi. We want to take a short break right now. When we come back, of course, we'll drill deep and see what these issues are being raised. Who is Musalia Mudavadi seeing at night, right? And is there any merger with the ANC and Ford Kenya? Is it still in the offing, right? We want to hear also Boni to tell us more about what is happening with Ford Kenya. Is it going to hold? And generally, NASA as a whole, as a coalition, is it having a brighter future as far as politics is concerned? Don't go away. Much more coming up on the other side of a break. Welcome back. You're watching People and Politics here on AM Live, and we're continuing apace with our conversation on party politics. And we're looking at the future of NASA. Now that we can see the parties within the coalition are actually imploding, what does it portend for this particular coalition? And what is the future of all these parties as well? Some of them are using all the merging, that is ANC and Ford Kenya and other parties as well. So we are here holding court with Dr. Tende Amolo, who is a member of parliament from Rarieda. We have also with us former senator of Machakos, this is Johnson Mudhama, and also the former senator of Kakamega, Boni Khalwale, and who is also the deputy leader of Ford Kenya. We do have with us as well Kimani Matangi, who is a senator of Kiambu, and Eseli is sending his regrets this morning. He's just lost his sister. And Jacob Midio is aware, also admitted in Nairobi Hospital. But we continue with the conversation apace nonetheless. Let's just hear from, before we took a short break, we wanted to know generally, what does this really portend for NASA, Otene Omolo? It seems ODM is all prim and proper as it seems, or maybe they're keeping their secrets well guarded, that it has not really leaked to the media.
Indeed, in this time of turmoil in political parties, I think the most peaceful is the ODM.
Turmoil.
Yes, and we will come to that.
What about Jubilee?
We know that Jubilee, and if we start that conversation, Wamatangi will not want to speak, but we all know that Jubilee has the team Tanga Tanga, which Boni Khalwale has recently joined, and then there's the team Kieleweke, which stays faithful to the president. To date, Wamatangi sometimes oscillates, but I know where his heart lies. In NASA, and I've never said NASA is dead, Senator Wamatangi. Let us be clear. In all our conversations here, I think Boni has always said NASA is dead. I think Dr. Eseli Simio has always maintained that line. I have never maintained it. All I have said, and I repeat, is that there are teething issues in NASA, especially because its constituent parties, almost each of them has an issue. In Ford Kenya, we are here with the Secretary General of Ford Kenya, who has abandoned Ford Kenya and is now in the Tanga Tanga Jubilee wing. We have the Wiper, and we've just discussed the problems that Wiper has, where its own chair is leading the opposition to its leader. We have ANC, where the question of their Secretary General still raises issues, whether it's Honorable Sosi, or others. So there are teething issues. But for me, I still maintain the position that there are always bound to be teething issues. But as far as I know, until the death certificate is issued, NASA is not dead. Having said that, let me now come back to the other issue that Dr. Khalwale spoke to. It's curious that Khalwale starts by saying he disagrees with me, then proceeds to agree with me. I think he just loves to disagree with me. Because when you say you disagree, and you say that Professor Kibwana's ambitions for presidency did not just start the other day, started in 2001. That's exactly what I was saying, except that you are agreeing but saying it is not recent, as I thought. It is much more historical. We are in agreement on that. That's okay. So we are actually in agreement. The only thing I think where we are in disagreement, and I think that's perhaps why you started by disagreeing with me, is that they say old women and men get jittery when rattling bones are mentioned. Where Professor Kibwana is right now is where Boni Khalwale has been for a couple of months now. He is the Secretary General of a party, Ford Kenya. He has chosen to run away from that party and join the team Tanga Tanga.
Deputy leader.
Yes, and is now the de facto deputy leader of Team Tanga Tanga, and he will clarify that. You must be de facto. De facto means who else speaks louder. In fact, you are the de facto leader because even the DP does not talk about 2022 anymore. I mean, everywhere he says, stop talking about this, but Dr. Bano Aleli still talks about it. So in fact, you are the the leader of that team. So where then we say that Professor Kibwana should have the courage to leave, Boni Khalwale would have had that courage months ago. So he's definitely bound to protect that line of thinking. But I think that in fairness, we don't always have to bring in Raila's name. For example, right now we were discussing Wiper. How Boni must twist it and come back to Raila Odinga beats me, because he never has any conversation anywhere without mentioning Raila's name. I think that he would not have much to say if Raila's name did not feature. We are discussing the problems of Wiper. And as much as we can sometimes discuss the problems of Fort Kenya, let us focus on that problem without bringing people, without bringing Raila's name, without bringing Uhuru's name to the issues of Wiper. That is my only plea.
All right. Raila maybe is a catnip of Kenyan politics. Yeah, if you uncouple Raila from Kenyan politics, then we don't have a very spicy, you know, political scenario or yeah, landscape in Kenya as well. But let's come to Mudhama, and then we'll come to Boni Khalwale as well to just clarify on one or two things as far as Ford Kenya is concerned. Mudhama, so if Kalonzo now is warming up to the Jubilee administration. He's saying that he's going to be a kanda ya mwoko, you know, mtu wa mkono for President Uhuru Kenyatta. What does it really portend for his, you know, political career? Do you think he's actually put his political career on the chopping block? Because it seems all of, looking at the nuances of these particular parties, it seems all these parties, they're actually, you know, slowly by slowly donning the red cloth of Jubilee.
You know,
Ford Kenya is turning out to be a Jubilee outfit as well, slowly by slowly.
Let us not forget one thing here that has been raised about the Wiper Party chairman, Kivutha Kimwana. And I want to tell my brother here, Kivutha has been an activist in all his life. And an activist remains an activist. An activist is not a politician. And he remains at that position up to now, and he will never leave from that position. And now, looking at the issues that that has been raised here, and even if my brother here, Amol Otiende, and my brother Boni Khalwale, and also Mamatangi's failure to respond when Khalwale says that Raila and Kalonzo, they have become Jubilee members. It is not true. What my brother should understand here is Kalonzo leads a party known as Wiper. Raila leads a party known as ODM. Mudavadi is in ANC, and Wetangula is in Fort Kenya. What happened? And what Kenyans need to understand is that we had problems after the elections. We went to the streets. We had tear gas being thrown left to right, in front of us, behind us, and every part of this country, and mostly Nairobi. And time came when Raila sat down and thought, as a senior leader of the coalition of NASA, with the mandate that he had been given, and decided that time it's over now, of having all these problems in the country, it is time to accept Uhuru as the president of Kenya. Whether he stole votes or not, these votes are not stolen by Tanzanian or by Ugandan. So together we stood up and said, no more failure to recognize Uhuru as the president of Kenya. We are going that direction. And that does not mean that by being patriotic and giving your own interests away to bring peace in the country, that does not mean that you are weak or you are moved to another party. If anything, NASA is alive. And I want to say this in a meeting I had with Boni Khalwale here, after I was asked by the co-principals to call a meeting. I had a meeting with Boni Khalwale, with his party leader, and I said, this is what Raila says as our leader and his deputy Kalonzo, and all other co-principals without the participation of Moses Wetangula. So I'm being asked to call a meeting of the co-chairs. In that meeting, we agreed that it is not possible because of one reason, and my brother will confirm that here. Not because of the action that Raila took, not because of the action that Kalonzo took, not because of what Wetangula and Mudavadi did with Uhuru Kenyatta, or among us themselves as co-principals, but based on one thing, that Orengo took the position that was held by Wetangula in Parliament as the minority leader of the Senate. And that was the reason, and things stopped there. So NASA is alive, and unless I'm being called by the four co-principals and tells me no more NASA, I still believe that I'm the co-chair, one of the co-chairs of NASA.
When is the last time you had a meeting as NASA?
That was sometime last year, in October, November.
In October, November?
Yes, we had our last meeting as co-chairs together with our principals. But that is not the point.
No, the point is, what was the deliberation for this particular meeting for the future of NASA? Up to now, you've not you haven't met yet, and of course, there's so many things happening.
Actually, that meeting took place at Stoniathi. Bon Khalwale was there, and it was with the principals and the co-chairs.
Is that the meeting that Boni was? People were saying he came to peep through the window.
No,
there was. You remember
no,
Boni?
it's not like it was not like that. Bon Khalwale is here. You see, we had the four core principals, yeah, and then we had the only people who were allowed to go in were 4 co-chairs. So there was Monica Lwane, and there was Simio Eseli, and there was Muluka there, and also members of WIPE. So we were asked actually to sieve and have only the principals, 4 of them, and the 4 co-chairs, and that's how Eseli came in instead of Boni Khalwale. So there was nothing like it was peeping from outside to see what was going inside. If anything, we just wanted Raila to clarify to the leadership of NASA what actually caused the meeting, the handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, which he took us through, and we accepted what he told us. But you know, the problem with Kenyans is that if it's not me, it's me. And if it's not me, it's me. And if it's not me, it's me. If the day we would have to forget about that and accept that Otieno Amolo here can be a leader, and he can lead us, and we can stand to rectify where he makes mistakes, we'll go far. But the problem with Kenyans is that Wetangula is the leader. Tomorrow Mboni stands and says, Wetangula is not leading us to anywhere, so I must come in and lead you. Before he gets to do that, there's another person. Before he gets to do that, and that's why we are ending up having almost political parties from every village, because we don't trust one another.
All right.
Now, before you allow somebody else to say something, let me say this. Kalonzo is not part of Jubilee. Raila is not part of Jubilee. See what is happening in Embakasi South now. We are in coalition, and the coalition was there of NASA. But now we have 2 candidates in Embakasi. One sponsored by Wiper Party, and another one sponsored by ODM Kenya. Why this is happening? It is happening because we failed, we as leaders now, including my brother Boni Khalwale here, to come up with selfless endeavors of forming one political party known as NASA, or that was to bring all of us together. But because we want to work with our own political parties based on tribal arrangements, we could not do that. And that is why Sumura went to court to remove a NASA member of parliament without considering that ODM and Wiper, they are brothers, and they were seeking for leadership in this country to bring change. That seat was not with Jubilee, but it is not only in Embakasi. Wiper took ODM candidates to court, where ANC did the same, Fort Kenya did the same. The only party that had discipline, and Kenyans must understand this, for take, was Jubilee. Jubilee was one outfit, and where they had the candidate, it was one candidate over Jubilee in all constituencies and counties and wards in the Republic of Kenya.
Thank you.
So the mistakes are ours, and the leaders, like my brother here, Boni Khalwale, whom I try to convince, let us convince Wetangula, Raila, and Kalonzo that we come up with, and Mudavadi, with one political party. But they could not listen to me. In fact, I was accused of trying to kill those political parties. So we blame ourselves for that.
Boni, you're challenging Wetangula, the Secretary General, Sele Simiyu, party MPs, Chris Wamalwa and Wafula Wamunyinyi, to openly confirm or deny the existence of an agreement with Ruto. Is there an agreement with Ruto, Ford Kenya and Ruto? And I thought you should be the one who's privy to this particular arrangement, because you're closer to Ruto right now.
just allow me to step back one step because the important issues have been canvassed by my two colleagues. Then I'll respond to that.
Okay.
My brother Amolo, if you don't want people to mention the name of Raila Odinga, if it hurts you, if it annoys you, ask him to vacate the political space. But for as long as he remains in that space, we will continue competing for that space, either as individuals or on behalf of others or as parties.
It's not only Amolo who's asking this, even Mike is asking.
Thank you, I have answered both of them with one
Mike
stop.
is saying, why is Galole discussing Jacom and we're discussing Wiper?
Exactly. I think he followed my discussion. So I want to beg for that understanding that nothing personal. It's all because we are practicing politics in the same arena. So if he's in that arena, like the WWF wrestling, where everybody goes there for the, what do they call it? Where every wrestler goes in, then you must expect to get kicks, as some of us continue being hit. The second point, Atiende, I want to remind you that the internet never forgets. Somewhere in a corner of Kenya, you and my sister, the politician I respect so much, Milo Diambo, you stated, and I think some of you followed it up with tweets on your social media. My social team has sent me a message. They are working on it very quickly. We'll read you your tweet, where you asserted that NASA died on 30th of January when you chose to call Kalonzo and Wetangula as Mudavadi as cowards, when the cowards didn't turn out. So if you're swallowing your words, tell us. Mheshimiwa Mudama, you have raised the important issue of our last meeting. Every time I sit with you, my admiration and respect for you grows. You pursue the truth. It is true that was the last meeting, but you have left out something very important because now Kenyans are listening to us. And the important thing is that the meeting we had in Stony Athi, the last meeting of NASA, originally, on the eve of that meeting, it was not planned as a NASA meeting. On the eve of that meeting, we held another pre-meeting at Oleserian, and we agreed that Mudavadi, Kalonzo, and Wetangula and their parties were going to respond to the handshake. But because the information moves very fast, when it reached the ears of Orengo and Raila that the following morning we're going to make that kind of a response, allow me to use the wrong word, they get crushed into our meeting. Orengo actually pushed Mudama that I must bring Raila into your meeting so that we meet together. And when we went to that meeting, why we happened to be there, even when we are not co-chairs, is because we were going to release our position on the handshake as the three partners who had actually been snapped. So when we reached there, Raila looked into Muluka's eyes and he said, I cannot sit in the same meeting with this man. This man has been writing bad things about me in the papers. And meetings temporarily got out of control. And Muluka, you know, Muluka then went and sat directly in front of Raila. It did not help matters. So Kalonzo, in his diplomatic ways, managed to appeal to all of us to leave the meeting so that we converted the meeting into an NASA meeting. Let that one rest. My final point about what you have said, Mheshimiwa, is that you are saying Kalonzo and Raila are not in Jubilee. They are. Kalonzo and Raila are not the first Kenyans to be given international jobs by this government. The first such a person to be given is the Secretary General of UNTAG, Dr. Mukhisa Kitui. When he was given this job, the first thing Dr. Mukhisa Kitui did to maintain his integrity, he told us, his party members, that now I'm vacating my position and my membership in your party because I now have to go and serve government in Geneva. So if Raila was doing what he was doing, i.e. taking up the AU job out of patriotism, he would have vacated his position in ODM so as to serve the government in good faith. This state of ambivalence simply shows that what was taking him and also Kalonzo was an attempt to just have a foothold somewhere while they are waiting to continue playing politics. That is not decent. That is not the integrity we expect of somebody who wants to be head of state somewhere in future. Let me come to your question. Fort Kenya. I said in my interview at KTN that the least I can do is to leave it to the conscience of Eseli, Wetangula, Chris Wamalwa, and the others that I mentioned, who some of them you mentioned there, to leave it to their conscience that we can hold a meeting with a national leader, take up positions as leaders of a political party, not individually but collectively, and then just back out of it, and instead of saying that we are sorry, we have changed our minds, you start pointing fingers at one of you, i.e. the deputy party leader, that he is wrong, when all he's doing is pursuing the contents of what you agreed. And for God's sake, an MOU is not an MOU because it is in writing. An MOU is a gentleman's agreement. You can choose to put it in writing, and Amolo is here, or you can choose to agree like gentlemen. The politics we do, most of the things we do as gentlemen and women. So once you agree that, and what we agreed with the deputy president, I'll not go into details, is that we continue exploring and growing friendship between him and us for purposes.
You as a person or you as a party?
We as the party, when you say the party, you are saying NEC has met and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Yeah, that we don't call it that, we say the leadership of the party. And I've given you the names. That we continue exploring and growing the possibility of friendship with our view, with our eye set on 2022. Nothing wrong with it. After all,
what does friendship portend? Is it a merger? No, but we want to know the nuances about this friendship, of which you're not really.
I'm going to dissect it further.
Please.
Yeah. And this is what is expected of all party leaders, that you look for like-minded party leaders from other parties, from other communities, from other regions, with a view of strategizing to win the election. If Ruto, when he was chairman, party leader of URP, and Uhuru, when he was party leader of TNA, if they had not explored that route, they would not have created the juggernaut that is called Jubilee today. If Kalonzo Musyoka, leader of Wiper, Wetangula, leader of Fort Kenya, and Raila had not, leader of ODM, had not pursued this kind of talks that, by the way, take a long time and a process, they would not have created CORD, and similarly would not have created NASA. So this is part and parcel of coalition building. Now you ask about the specificity of those talks and friendship. Whether a coalition is going to grow into a merger, a cooperation, or one party, it is the result of such talks and negotiations. Again, I want to applaud Senator Mdama. I really owe you an apology, Senator, that I'm one of the people who opposed you when you were pushing us to convert NASA into one political party. Eventually, that is the route the country will go. If we don't go that route, then our parties will continue changing the way they have been changing for the last how many years, from 1992.
All right.
So that the stability you see in the US of 2 strong parties and in the UK of 3 strong parties will never obtain in this country.
Wamatangi, do you foresee us really slipping back to a single party rule in this country? Because that's where we're headed, and it seems Jubilee is a big part. Unless you can tell us what is happening in the Jubilee administration right now, First of all, we have the Tanga team and the Kieleweka team. I don't know which team you are in. You maybe can declare today for Kenyans to really know. Or are you vacillating between the Tanga and the Kieleweka team as well? You've never been forthright on this show. Where is your stand?
Now, Debarl, why are you diverting?
This is party housekeeping.
You knew that I'm having a good time. And so are many of us, you know, having this time of revelation. and you can hear, at least there are so many things that we didn't know that were happening in the former NASA. And Dr. Otiende Amolo, because I know you are a lawyer and you have sounded yourself on this issue of NASA. Well, and in law, I know you have this habit of when people are being sentenced, that they're told that they are going to be hanged until they are proven dead by a doctor. and on that premise, then I would understand that you would still hold the view that you are still waiting for a clinical approval. That NASA is dead. While all other facts and reason and observations, of course, say the opposite, that it is dead. So, I mean, and you see, me and you, Debarl, because we have...
Maybe your tender is the one holding the defibrillators right now to actually resuscitate.
Well, you know, NASA. I mean, because at least that is his training as a lawyer. So you have to just allow him that leeway. But when the confirmation comes, at least then, you know, we agree. And you remember, just before we went to the elections, Otiende, I remember we even had agreed on, after the elections, we actually had agreed on some burial dates, including a eulogy. But let's not go to those details so much. But we all know, we remember actually from the events of when Raila went to Uhuru Park for the swearing in. And then there were no-shows without having to go into detail. And Senator Mudhama, Tiende Amolo, and Boni Halwale, all of us know. I mean, it's in the public domain, Debarl, that is when the death of NASA was pronounced, really. I mean, because, and Mudhama, you have done very well. Actually, future students of political party formations and political science will take that as a good case study and see what works and what doesn't work. And especially when you come out very clearly, you know, we kept on saying, in fact, it was foolhardy in my view and in most politicians' views, that you would say you have a coalition called NASA, and then you have these autonomous parties within this big boat, and there is no one single day when you are ever able to speak in the same language. So can we formally agree that NASA never was? I mean, it was really just a bubble, a balloon that was used to, you know, to use polite language, but to mislead, if not to deceive. That there was a single direction or actually believable goals or ideals that were held by all these individuals. Actually, and we don't need to go back to the politics of yesterday. But at that time, Debarl, the truth is that every of those so-called principles in NASA pursued a personal interest to be president. And it was just a matter of who would be luckier. And, you know, they all went on this, you know, lucky, find lucky, and see who is most probable. But unfortunately, and this one we have to say clearly, that none of them, even today, because that's the reality, even today, none of them can outmatch the political weight of Raila Odinga. And if you want to then answer the question as to why, even in the discussions, why myself, why Halwale, why Mudhama and Otiende will always find a reference in a political discussion to Raila Odinga, is because he has built himself and given himself that weight in political muscle. And you just can't ignore him. That's the way it is. And so, in whatever they were trying to do, they thought maybe that Kalonzo had his own ideas, I'm going to be this. Wetangula, of course, was thinking that he was also going to have a lucky shot at it. But unfortunately, and I want to end that point there, that I believe Senator Mudama with their revelation, that at least now somebody would be knowing in the future, how are we going to build to build useful political parties? And that's what I want to answer in what you asked. And to confirm, Mudama, what you said, why didn't I answer Halwale as to whether Kalonzo and Raila are members of Jubilee? But it depends on what kind of membership you're talking about. Because in my view, I mean, they're members by collaboration and cooperation. And because once you've decided to see things in a way that is common, and I don't mean membership as in holding cards, you know, in the cheap form of membership. I'm thinking and I'm talking from the philosophical point of view you yourself applied, Senator Modama, that yes, they had their own ambitions, but they've gotten to the point whereby they see there are better values, bigger values, and bigger goals at the country level for who we are. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Once you believe in the vision, then you believe in the people, and so we are members of that vision. And so if you were to ask, are they members of Jubilee, with humility, you would say yes. I mean, in my view. But I said, don't look at me like that. I'm not talking about that cheap membership of holding a red card, you know, and wearing a red T-shirt. I'm talking about that membership whereby now you belong to the same train of thought. Lastly, Debarl, because on this one I didn't want to speak as long as my colleagues did, because it's their day. I want to give them the honor of them telling us.
I'm sorry, Jubati, can you allow me just to take callers who are hanging on the line, then we'll come back to you?
Yes, okay.
Yeah, please. We have callers who are hanging on the line. Let's just hear from them this morning as well, who are driving the show with me as well. Right? Let's just begin with Andrew. Andrew, he's on the line. Good morning, Andrew. Hello? Good morning, Andrew. All right. Andrew is not on the line. We have a next caller from Mombasa, Ibrahim. Hello, good morning. Ray, you sound distant a bit, right? Good morning. All right, we seem to be having technical challenges on the reception of those phone calls. Lastly, let's try Ibrahim hanging on the line as well. Daniel, this is Daniel? This is Ibrahim.
No, Ibrahim.
Yes, good morning, Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, habari yako Debarl?
Niko salama.
Sasa mimi nilikuwa nakwambia Debarl.
Yes.
Hii mambo ya siasa tuachane. Mnatukumbusha mbali wa Kenya bwana. Hii mambo imeisha. Sasa hii kuna party moja inaitwa Handshake Party of Kenya. Wakenya wametulia. Sasa tuzungumze mambo ya siasa, lakini kuna skandal nilikuwa mnazungumza hapo, nimekula pesa nyingi, watu walienda wakatengeza pesa nyingi huko China. Hiyo kitu mmenyamaza. Sasa kuna wanani wa manasi wanagoma. Bado tuachane na hiyo kitu. Handshake inaitwa nini? Handshake Party of Kenya ndio inafanya kazi sasa. Hata ukimuuliza Uhuru anakuambia tuachane na mambo ya siasa bwana. Basi. Sawa.
Asante Ibrahim. Right. We have Daniel.
Mama.
All right. Hello. Good morning, Daniel.
Yes, good morning, Debarl.
Yes. Morning to you. Very well.
Yes, I always look forward to Tuesday's AM live show. I really love it so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, now, in fact, this man, Boni Khalwale,
Yes.
he used to be a Democrat until he turned a Tumbocrat. in fact, there was a time I used to have a ringtone in my phone about Kimunya. This and this to happen, Kimunya must go. This and this to happen, Kimunya must go. And I used to like this bullfighter from Ikolomani, because I once schooled there around Ikolomani, and I used to follow his bullfighting sessions.
Yes.
And there is one thing funny about this guy, Boni Khalwale. Do you remember the story of Saul in the Bible when he used to persecute Christians?
Yes.
This Boni Khalwale used to persecute William Ruto so much.
Yes.
Until one day when he was going to Damascus, a very strong light struck his eyes. And he had only one man to pray for him and then baptize him. And that is William Ruto. All of a sudden, he regained eyesight again. And he saw, and wow, he saw a generous William Ruto. The man he used to accuse every day, asking him where he gets all these millions, splashing every weekend, Harambee Western, Harambee Nyanza, Harambee Coast, Harambee Mombasa. Today, Halwale, for the first time, can contribute in a church function. This money. Then, lastly, Halwale, let me remind you, my man, you are a good man, but I'm seeing you moving in a wrong trajectory. In fact, why must you talk about this man, Raila Odinga? There is only one thing that can explain that. The only way you can build your career and continue with your career is to talk about Agwambo. Agwambo, in fact, is NASA. So when we talk that NASA is dead, I think NASA is alive because Raila Odinga himself is a political party. So when you say NASA is dead, then I'm wondering where has this NASA been and NASA is Raila Odinga?
Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think Boni Khalwale will respond to that. He's not a Democrat anymore, he's a Tumbocrat. Yeah, you'll allude to that, but I think we had cut short. I'm given to understand we have Andrew still on the line. Just a moment. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Debarl. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, you have a question or contribution?
Can you hear me, Debarl?
Yeah, I can clearly, perfectly.
I have a contribution to make.
Sawa.
Yes, Debarl, it shocks me beyond belief, and I hope Bonnie is listening to this.
Yes.
Debarl, every Kenyan has been admiring Boni Khalwale. The way he's been doing his politics, he's been, every Kenyan has been seeing him as the savior, only probably second to Raila Amolo Odinga. But it shocks everyone how somebody who all along has been so principled or used to pretend to be can turn into something else, a totally different animal. Boni Khalwale, I watched your show. I watch your show every morning, and I did last week. And I remember clearly what Honorable Eseli said. And by the way, so many people started loving Honorable Eseli because of the things he said last week. When Khalwale, he responded to Khalwale when Khalwale was saying that it doesn't really matter that Ruto now is the man, blah, blah, blah. And when you are talking about the corruption, about the land, about the land on Langata Road, the Western Hotel, sorry, he kept on defending Ruto and kept on talking about other people who are corrupt. And to him, he was suggesting to Kenyans that people should forget about corruption that Ruto gets involved in.
Thank you.
Only think about other corrupt people.
Yes, your point exactly, Andrew.
My point is this, that Khalwale has lost relevance in the eyes of Kenyans. He's become somebody who is probably just begging Ruto for some maybe financial support.
Thank you.
So he can
Thank you.
Anything,
Thank you, Andrew.
Anything, whether it's good or bad.
Thank you. We got the point, and of course, Khalwale is here. He's going to respond to that before we end the show this morning. But we were on you, Kimanu Matangi, and of course, Khalwale, because most of us are pointed to you, respond to this.
And I really...
Sorry?
Yeah. We need to say something because
before Kimanu Matangi.
No. Before Dr. Khalwale.
Before, you will.
Things we need
Fantastic,
to
you will.
Absolutely. I just finished my point, and Debarl, I think those comments first, I think they're a good, clear indication that Kenyans watch this show and they follow. And I think one of these fine days, we should be taking some of those who are very, good contributors and who follow, and invite one of them to come and join the panel. And they can also have their views on
good idea.
So some of them, if you listen to some of those contributions, they're good.
Very good.
So if you pick one of those guys and invite him one day to the panel to join us,
thank you.
And then I think we would have a useful discussion.
Thank you.
Now, my final point was on that question you asked: are we sliding slowly into that one party that we have not been given a new name, the Handshake Party of Kenya?
Yes.
and my answer is no. I don't think so. You know, Debarl, let's say to Kenyans that we need, at the end of the day, after all this process, 50 years after independence onwards, and trying to find a political hygiene for our political leadership, that it must lead us somewhere where we're able to say that we have got vehicles called political parties that propagate ideals, that have got continuity, that people can believe in. And once more, we can trust that a political party can be a formation whereby the aspirations of Kenyans can be vested in, such that once you say you belong to this political party, then people know what you stand for. Unfortunately, our history has been such that when it is just about elections time, you expect that there are going to be all manner of new names and inventions of political parties and formations and players. And unfortunately, if we continue that way, we are never going to have progress, especially given the weight that we give politicians in our leadership. And so I believe our way forward should be to pursue that reality and the best ideal whereby we are going to be having either 2 political parties or 3 at most that stand for at least a variety of opinions for Kenyans, but also that stand for long-term goals and aspirations of this country. And then we can join them and grow those parties. If this be the beginning, that at least we are now trying to find and starting to find a common way of looking at things. And I want to say, lastly, on that question and that tag of the Handshake Party of Kenya, we may laugh at that term, calling it the Handshake Party of Kenya. But indeed, in spirit, in the philosophical sense of it, I believe that is the way to go for this country, where people now can say that you can break barriers, you can wash away hatred, you can start seeing common ideas together.
Thank you. Let's hear from Dr. Otieno Mola. A lot of things that you need to respond to, and Senator Mudhama.
I will try to be quick. Do we envisage a situation where we'll have one party? As long as our constitution remains what it is, and I believe it will, we will never have one party. For by the constitutional decree, Kenya is a multi-party state, and the formulation, including the structure of parliament, is based upon that. We can only have more parties than 2. We will never have one party. Are we in Jubilee Party of Kenya? The answer is an emphatic no. I am willing to concede that we are probably in the handshake movement, not party, handshake movement. And Senator Matangi spoke for a long time and failed to answer the only question you had asked him. Is he in Kieleweke or Tanga? And because he didn't answer, I can only suppose that he's in something we can only call Kieletanga. Which means half Kieleweke, half Tanga. Now, let's come back to Bonnie. Dr. Alwale, I have come to accept. Dr. Alwale, I have come to accept that you will not speak without mentioning Raila Amolo Odinga. I have come to that acceptance. Even if you ask the name of their local market, I think Raila's name will come into it. And so I'm willing to live with that, except that my point was not and can never be that you should not mention Raila's name. I mean, Raila, Uhuru, all these guys are political players. But when you are asked a question, like which is the direction of Kolomani market, how does Raila's come into it? You know, there are some answers you can give without bringing Raila's name. And I want to encourage you to focus on that. It is a good revelation that Dr. Alwale now has a team, which even as we are working on the show, they are also busy working on documents and items that they forward to him. I think that's one of the newer developments, Dr. Alwale. Most of us still don't have that facility, but I think it's a new facility for you. But when they then show you whatever they are making, you will realize that I have always been consistent. My consistency has always been, and around the time we had this conversation, even on this show, was that when it came to the question of replacement of Senator Moses Wetangula as minority leader, his main opposition and those of others from Fort Kenya was that he is a co-principal. How can he be removed as a minority leader and is a co-principal? And my point was that it cannot be that it is convenient for you to fall back on NASA and co-principalship when you want to protect your own, when at that time, the first of the principals who declared NASA was dead was Senator Moses Wetangula. And so I said you cannot have your cake and eat it at the same time. If you believe that NASA is dead, then you cannot catapult back and say, no, as co-principal, I am entitled to this. That was my point, and it remains a valid point to date, in my view. And in talking about the political formations and reformulations, I think we should be fair to history. I, for one, have defended Dr. Boni Halwale here. I have always said that who you choose to follow or who you choose to support for a presidential candidate is entirely your right. And no one should fault you for that, your history notwithstanding. At that time, the only thing is that Dr. Halwale was not very clear, but he later became clear. And you've never heard me say I have an issue with that. You have chosen your path. I mean, let others choose their path. The only thing is, don't confuse it. Take the question of Dr. Kitui, for example. Once he was appointed Deputy Secretary General of the UN, he reasonably...
The Secretary General.
Secretary General. I thought it was Deputy.
Secretary General of UN.
Yes, Secretary General of UNCTAD. Yeah. That is a full-time job. And by definition, you cannot continue in the political actions within the country. Raila has been given the task of being the AU High Representative on infrastructure. That is not a full-time job. That is a part-time thing. And there are Kenyans who have also been involved in it.
Thank you.
In fact, by definition, you require to be a politician to continue engaging with the other presidents across Africa. My last point. I think there are some interesting revelations, and we should hear a little more about this. Dr. Halwale, in justifying why he is where he is, tells us that they had a meeting where the other party leaders were also there, and they had agreed to go a certain direction. I think that's a point that he should develop, because I was always accusing him of that. I think it might help if Dr. Halwale discloses what we always suspected, that him and his party leader in Ford Kenya had long nurtured an alliance with the deputy president even before the handshake. Mm-hmm. And that his complaint now is that he was left staying there alone, the rest of backtrack. I think that is a point that would be interesting to know.
Thank you.
But it must, the apology that he gives to Senator Mudama, I think, is a well-taken apology. Because as far as I understand, and Senator Mudama might confirm this, one of the hindrance on having NASA as a party were those who were vying for different positions, like Senator Halwale in Kakamega for governor, and the current governor, who are in Oparanya, who was in ODM.
Thank you.
And the same case with Mombasa. So that they singly, I think, made it difficult to have one party.
Thank you.
And perhaps that's something that all of them, wherever they are, should render an apology for.
Yeah, Senator Mudama, also your closing remarks.
Please, let us be serious, first of all, when we are discussing these matters of leadership. This is not a place to make jokes. And I want we as leaders, when we tackle issues of leadership, is we don't come and start laughing, you know, and showing Kenyans that we are enjoying the discussion we are having. When you look at the American leaders on TV, on television, they don't joke. They put things straight and with a very serious note. So let us not have these quotes of jokes. And starting with the political parties where we started from, it is wrong for anybody to assume that it is either this party, Ford Kenya, because Boni Halwale is being told to quit because he has been seen to be associating himself with the deputy president. These problems are in every party. Yes. If you go to Mombasa, ODM is trying to expel some members of parliament because they have gone against the policies of the party. If you come to Jubilee, there is that perception which cannot be confirmed, and it has been created by those who suspect there could be cracks, or those who may love to see cracks in Jubilee, and they are saying there is a Tanga team and I don't know what. But Uhuru Kenyatta himself, as a leader of Jubilee Party, has never come out to say the party is divided into two sections. There's this section and there's this section. So those are perceptions, and we must be serious in these issues. We must tell Kenyans who are listening to us, what does it mean actually to have problems in a political party? If you come to Wiper, that is Kibuda down there and other governors trying to not to remove Kalonzo as a party leader, but as a kingpin of Ukambani. If you go to ANC, there is division. Fort Kenya, Kalwale is being told to get out. So there are those problems within the party, but this is the core point. As far as I'm concerned, and this is also what the media quotes Raila Amolo Odinga today as the leader of NASA. There is nowhere that Raila has been quoted as a person who has left NASA. But he's still up to today being quoted as the opposition leader who leads NASA. Kalonzo stands to be his deputy. So anything outside that is people's imagination.
Thank you.
Unless they come out and tell us. But I want to say one thing.
Finally, Mudama.
Kalwale should not be content because he's associating himself with Ruto. And there are all these names calling. And I'm not defending Ruto because I want to support him. I am not going to support him. But it has been the perception of every Kenyan, I believe every Kenyan, that if Amolo Odinga is being accused of stealing, he will come out and tell me, say, take me to court and prosecute me. Truly, if these allegations are true, so that Bwana Kalwale does not get to be seen associating himself with a perceived thief, those who have got evidence, let them present the evidence.
Thank you.
And they say Ruto stole this, he stole this, he's still the deputy president of Kenya.
Thank you.
He has never
thank
been
you, Mudama.
investigated. He
We-
has
we-
never
we-
been
we need to
taken
wind up.
court. And now we are having the perception that he's a thief.
Thank you.
Bwana Kalwale is a democratic person. He has his political
Fantastic.
right.
Let him.
He can associate
Don't hold
himself
brief for
with
him.
anybody.
Don't hold brief for him. Finally, Bwana Kalwale, your parting shots on this. Also, you can respond to some of the callers that had called in.
I would like to respond to the two callers. My brothers, I've heard you, and I would like to thank you for the strong words you have used of how good and nice and acceptable and democratic that I was before. Let me tell you, that's not the only problem. Unfortunately, in this country, it's easy to know because of the accent of the kind of English we speak. It's very easy for you to know that person who is speaking comes from this or that community. Your only problem is that I am not supporting Raila. And what you're saying, you are expressing together with Amolo here, your disappointment that instead of supporting Raila, I'm supporting Ruto. There are many of you in that kind of political persuasion who never thought that Ruto would attract support from the caliber of leaders that I could be part of. But Kenyans don't like reading. If you are reading, you would have, I would refer you to a small book for you to read by Sir Thomas More. Sir Thomas More, in 1516, he wrote about the Ethiopian island.
30 seconds. Sir.
This is the island with perfect laws, perfect politics, perfect social order. But because we are not in utopia, we are not in the Utopia Republic of Kenya, we are in the Republic of Kenya, we must practice politics according to the callings of the day. And I conclude by telling them that if it was if it was right for Ruto to support Raila until he became prime minister, and if it was right for me to support Raila until he got the kind of votes he got in NASA, what is wrong with that support being transferred elsewhere?
Right. I think also you should hand a copy of that book to Senator Kimani Matangi as a winding up. Briefly.
Sir Thomas More.
We're winding up briefly.
Okay, just let me quickly first inform Tiende Amolo that I'm a member of Jubilee, and thanks for the new coined term that you have coined. But we are still the same Jubilee. We are one party, and the rest are perceptions. Mudama says
Thank you.
You know, lastly, Debarl, let me make my point and my parting shot that sometimes when I listen to Kenyans, you get surprised at how much faith Kenyans invest in us leaders, and how much they expect that the direction we give, the things that we say and what we show we stand for, how important it is to them. And I believe that that's a challenge that we must take seriously as leaders, that we set examples that Kenyans are willing to follow. And as a personal challenge, you know, that's why I take it upon myself. Otiende Amolo, as you ask that question consistently, what do I stand for? I stand for principle. I stand for fact and truth, and I stand for the law as it is. And I stand for a good leadership and ideals that Kenyans can believe in 50 years from today, 100 years from today. And that's why you find, if you want to brand somebody because they're just thinking that this is convenient or this is nice, you will not find me there. I hope that all of us leaders would stand and get challenged to those ideals.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, we need to wind up right now. We've stopped for time. We should have engaged more and more, but time is not really on our side. I want to thank you so much for coming through this morning. I'll just be winding up with a few tweets. My director, Mark, is really disappointed in me this morning, but let's just see what people are saying here. Honorable Leonard Kirui, EBSA, is saying, what's Boni Mutetezi opinion when Raila told him why he keeps asking Baba why he leaves the house early, yet Baba ameleta nyama nyumbani. And then we have also Patricia Nyar Odongo saying the actions and utterances of our politicians have been demonstrated to be part of their over-enthusiasm to get re-elected. And others, that is Boni Kalole and others, you're giving politics a pretty poor name. And they go on and on and on, just to also look at what Goodluck Dala is saying. I don't agree with Senator Mudhama. Professor Kifudha Kibwana did Wiper Party a favor. He's the only Wiper governor, and we are ready to re-elect him, whichever party he chooses. He has delivered on his promises and mandates. Those are just a few of the tweets that we're rushing through, and I want to thank you also for your participation and driving the show with me this morning. Thank you very much for your valued company. I am Debarl Inea.